guys, happy Tuesday. So today you are taking a look at seasons again and just doing some practice with them. So your assignment for today is called It's All About the Tilt because seasons are a result of the Earth's axis being tilted. So if I open that guy up, it should look something like this. Here should be your first, slide or screen that you see. And basically, you have different pictures showing the Earth orbiting around the sun, where you are labeling the seasons either in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. So my number one thing when you're doing this assignment is please, please, please make sure you know what hemisphere you're in. So on this very first one, we are labeling in the northern hemisphere. Okay, so we're going to label the sun. So I can go ahead and you guys are doing this on Notability, so you'll be able to just write it nicely. I'm going to label this as the sun. Okay. We need to draw arrows showing that the Earth revolves counterclockwise around the sun. So my arrows, counterclockwise, goes this way. And this is going to help us figure out our seasons like spring and fall, which aren't as obvious of seasons. Okay, so now we have to label the 4 seasons. And if you're not great at doing this in your head, there are a couple resources in today's folder that could help you out. So here is what your folder looks like for today. Okay, and down at the bottom here, you have helpful interactive resources. So in here, I have 2 different websites that go through the seasons and take a look at where the Earth is positioned and what its tilt looks like. I'm going to use this top one as an example today. I like both of them, okay? So whichever one you feel most comfortable with using, you can take a look at. All right, so here is what my interactive looks like when I open it up. This is just some information for you guys. So we're going to be looking at a couple of different places on Earth for this example. So we are probably closest to Chicago here at this 42-degree north mark, but they'll also look at Alaska up here. And then we've got Australia in the southern area and Ecuador right by the equator that we'll take a look at as well. So I'm going to go ahead up top here and click to continue to interactive. And here's what my interactive looks like. First thing I really prefer to do is click this show button to have it show me. So it shows the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. Those are these blue lines here. And then the red one in the middle is your equator that goes right around the center of the Earth. So what we're seeing here is we are currently on that right side, and my tilt, if you're looking at this guy, it's tilted to the right. So I want to double check on my assignment that the Earth is tilted the same way. Earth is tilted to the right all the way around here. That's great. And currently this is in the month of January. So a couple of things I can look at down here to help me figure out season. Yes, I know you know what season it is in January. But if you're thinking about the southern hemisphere, for example, you might not know it off the top of your head. So this could help you out down here. 2 things they show you. They show you daylight hours. So how long is it during the daytime that they have sunlight? And then the temperatures, which if you think about your seasons, summer is generally quite a bit warmer than wintertime. So that can help you out as well. We're looking at the northern hemisphere for this one to start. So we'd be looking at Chicago and Alaska here. And both of them are pretty cold outside, 16 and 21 degrees Fahrenheit, in fairly short daylight times. Alaska is having about 6.5 hours, and Illinois about 9.5 hours of daylight. Okay, so based on what we know about our seasons then, knowing that it's cold outside and the daylight hours are quite short, we could say that at this point around the sun, we are in wintertime. I'd go ahead and go back over here and label that on my map. Okay, so we are in this side over here, and this is in winter. Another way to kind of look at this is taking a look at that tilt here. We are in the northern hemisphere, so we're up top here. And if we look at this tilt, I'm going to mark what up and down would be for you. If it was straight up and down, it would look something like this. Okay, but we are actually tilted in the northern hemisphere slightly away from the sun. So our sunlight isn't going to be as direct, which means it's going to be a little bit colder outside, and that is going to give us winter. From here, you could probably figure out the rest of the seasons. Just looking at this, knowing which way seasons move as we move throughout the year, but you can also continue to use your interactive as well. So I can go ahead and change the month here and move my Earth around. Now it's at the back spot on here, which would be the top one on our worksheet. And we can go from there on the seasons. I quick want to show you what that other interactive looks like, just in case you would prefer to use something like that as well. So going back into my interactive resources, this one is the Why We Have Seasons interactive. And when I open this one up, it's going to make me go to the actual page. Okay, here's what this guy looks like. So you have some background information up top here, and then you have a couple different spots on your diagram that you can click. This one's starting in December. And once again, take a look at where this is. So this is the right-hand side. Take a look at that tilt. It's tilted to the right, so it matches the one on your diagram as well. Okay. So we are closest in altitude or latitude, to New York down here. But we also have a couple other choices to take a look at. So New York and Miami are both in the northern hemisphere. Singapore is very close to the equator, and then Australia, again, representing the southern hemisphere, for you to take a look at those different seasons and what season they would be in at each point around the sun. So if I'm trying to figure out this left-hand one, and I'm trying to figure it out for the southern hemisphere, okay, I would click on where I want to go to, click on the spot on the diagram that I'm looking for, and then I can read a little bit about it down here. So this is the June solstice. That's what we're told. Okay. It is the winter solstice in Australia, and it has the fewest hours of daylight in the southern hemisphere. It's the beginning of winter, which is cool in Melbourne. So it's telling you that those temperatures are cooling down. You can take a look over here at that angle of the sun. We talked about how when the sun is more directly overhead, you're going to get brighter sun and it's going to be warmer outside, whereas if it's at more of an angle, it's going to be cooler out. So that's what you're seeing over here as well. So this is another resource that you can use working on your assignment. Okay. Filling the rest of these out, if I kind of followed along my seasons, I'm going to jump over to this other side because this is the easier one to do. If I take a look at our axis here, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun in this one. So we would be in summertime for this. We're going to get more of that direct sunlight happening. I'm going to go ahead and label that. And now I can easily figure out this top and bottom one here. If I'm looking here, Earth moves around counterclockwise. So winter going into summer. This season here should be labeled spring. And then down here on the other side, we are going from summer into winter, which means that we go through fall in that process. All right. So those are our seasons. And the last kind of little bit here that you're asked to do is label if it's a solstice or an equinox and where that belongs. So I would just honestly put that right underneath here. This would be the winter solstice. Let's see if I can get that all in one go. Okay. The spring equinox is also known as the vernal equinox, the beginning of spring here. Okay, summer, we call it the summer solstice. Okay, and remember that solstice just means that that's when the sunlight is most direct, whereas, direct in one of the hemispheres, I should say. And then a equinox means that sunlight is equal in both the northern and the southern hemisphere. So this one is called the autumnal, so autumn, equinox. All right. So if you followed along with me here for this whole time, you have your first diagram labeled, and you have a couple more to go through just to look at what different diagrams might look like. You're looking at the southern hemisphere in some, the northern hemisphere in others. So make sure you take a look up here to see what you need to be labeling. Okay. Let me know where you guys have questions. Otherwise, have a great day, guys.